Feeling boost? Oh, I like the sound of that. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate.
And we are live with another episode of Off the Wall. It's your boy Dazzle167. I'm going to be your host. And today we have a good, very special guest with me right here. Streamer extraordinaire and a support official general. We have Scarydragons over here. Say hi to the people, Scary.
Yo, what's up, guys? Glad to be on here.
Hey, how's it going? So, let's talk about a few things. First of all, we need to do what we usually do is we're gonna have to flex your rank. So let the people know what's your rank all about. What's your peak? How long you been in top 500 grandmaster type of area? Tell us all about that.
I first hit GM in season 3. Just kind of seasons 1 and 2. I didn't really get much playtime because I was on Destiny 1 Rise of Iron, which I actually regret doing. Wasn't the best. No, deadass. That was the weakest expansion of that game. Wish I could take those hours back. But
Yeah.
kind of just that, like, the beginning of season 3 was like where I truly grinded. Like, I didn't know anyone in this community, and I kind of just solo queued from like plat to GM as I remember it, like in a good 3-4 weeks. Like, it was a huge
Wow.
grind from up there. When I first started, like, I actually used to be a Lucio main, and I was kind of just like, if you see my season 3 profile, like, I was playing almost every support hero, and then kind of just transitioned a little more into mainly Mercies, just because like, Ana was still good at the time of season 3, and then like when season 4 hit, like, I mean, it was like when they nerfed the Nano, and Mercy was a must pick. I was kind of just being a meta slave, and then ended up one tricky Mercy, like, while playing like some hours on every other, until now. Like, the meta now, like, you can pretty much play any support, and then
Yeah.
so from like season 3 on to now, like, I've just been GM top 500.
That's really cool. That's a long time to be GM. So you're a lot of people could say that you're really well acquainted with the scene in the community because you've been here for a long time and you've been playing at a high level for a long time. I mean, we're talking about like almost 2 years right now, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like 2.5 years.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. So let's go way back in time, and let's talk about where you first started gaming. What's your gaming origin like, and what led you to Overwatch?
Shit. I mean, I'd say it started off with just a Game Boy Color. I still have my
Ooh, way back.
same. I still have my same Game Boy Color with. I started with Pokemon. I'm still to this day.
Wait, Pokemon. Okay, Pokemon Red or Pokemon Blue? Which one did you start
I
with?
had I had Pokemon Red and Pokemon Yellow. Pokemon Yellow is my personal
Ah.
favorite.
Okay, yeah. I remember because that one. First it was red and blue, and then yellow came out, and we were like, "Wow, okay, let us pick Pikachu now." That's cool, nice. So you go all the way back to the Game Boy. I remember having old gray brick Game Boy that didn't
Oh
have
yeah.
didn't have the back on it, so you just had exposed batteries.
No,
That was mine.
my older cousin had one of those, and like when I first saw it as a kid, I was like, "What is this thing?" It was like double the size of my Game Boy Color.
You're not wrong about that. I remember I went to the Nintendo store in New York one time, and they had one of those Game Boy old gray Game Boys, and it had survived the war. Like, it looked like it literally went through a war zone, and I forget what war or what soldier had it, but he gave it to the Nintendo store, and it had like dents in it and stuff like that, but it still turned on. That's the
Jeez.
craziest thing, and it was like melted on one side, but it was crazy. But yeah, that's way back. What type of games were you playing, and what got you into Overwatch eventually?
Well, if I were to like go from way back, I mean, that was kind of just as a kid. Like, I mainly started off with Pokemon games. I played some Zelda games. Just like, I had, like, when I played like lots of other like Game Boy and Nintendo DS games, and then like my very first console was the original Xbox. And I remember to this day, like, my very first Xbox, like the original Xbox game I had was the Spider-Man game that came with it. And then like going to the 360, I think that's when it was like, yeah, I'd say like about the 360 was when I started like getting the shooter games. One of the first games I had, like the two first games with the 360, was Gears of War, and Lost Planet. And kind of like with Gears of War, I grinded that game so much, put hundreds of hours on it, and then between middle school and high school, I even went some tournaments with some
Mm.
buddies of mine, like local tournaments, and we won a $1,000 tournament.
Hey.
It was the very first tournament I won at Gears, but it's been years upon years since I've touched the game because I'd say like after Gears of War 2, like that was like when I kind of stopped playing. And then Halo 3. Halo 3 was, I think to this day is still the amount, like the most time I've put into a game to this,
Wow.
because I played that, because it's like it's one of those games like that was to me like the pinnacle or like the foundation of
Yeah.
shooter games, where like I've never seen any other game top its custom lobby, forge lobbies, and and like Halo, the name still has like one of the best competitive scenes out there. Well, kind of like off now and then, but like we'll see like what Halo Infinite does. So I'd say like from there, I put hours of Call of Duty. I remember Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty 4. I put hours into those. I was even. This is kind of what I regret. I'll tell you. Freaking MW2. I'm not sure if you remembered back when Phase, Soar, Dare was popular, when trick shotting became a thing.
Yes.
I was part of that. I mean, like it was cool to me back then, but looking back at it, it's cringy as fuck.
Yeah, but to be fair, I think it's cringy now because it's become so like overrated, you know, like it's become
Yeah,
like oh
because I mean,
that yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because it's like the reason like why it was popular. I mean, it was just, I mean, it was all over YouTube. It was like FaZe Clan at the time was like the most trending, and kind of just like everyone wanted to be a part of it. Everyone wanted to join FaZe, Dare, Soar, like when all these organizations came out, and like everyone was trying to get their hands on like
Sure.
a Hapog HDR, like the record. That was like only OGers remember the Hapog and the Dazzles, like with the laptop, just try to get your montages in, just try to get in a team. I remember doing that, and then I kind of just like ignored it, and then that was like when Destiny 1 came out. Destiny 1, I did put a lot amount of time. Destiny's like it was like year 1, year 2, year 3 was when it fell off, kind of like what I said, and that's when
Yeah.
Overwatch came out. And once I was on Overwatch, like I loved the game immediately. I started putting time in there, and then like kind of like what I mentioned, I did not have as many hours seasons 1 and 2 in terms of competitive time. But
Yeah.
I was a quick play warrior, and then I still had a lot of friends that were on Destiny 1, and I knew no one in the Overwatch community compared to now. Like it's actually insane, like the amount of hundreds of people I met on both Xbox and PC through Overwatch to this day, just getting to know people.
Wow, that's really cool, and you know that kind of reminds me of like it's kind of the same kind of trajectory. I didn't play in a lot of big tournaments. I mean, I did a few Halo tournaments now and then, like local stuff, but
Yeah.
but I used to love Gears of War. I remember wall
Oh
bouncing
yeah.
and shotties. Oh hell yeah,
Oh yeah.
those are the
Gears. I'd
days.
say Gears 2 was my favorite.
Oh yeah,
Like I tried.
For sure. I grinded Gears 2 so hard. I mean, I think I eventually got to level 100. I got to like the to highest you could possibly get there. But yeah, that's very close to what I was doing. I was doing Destiny 1 as well. Did you do like a lot of Trials of Osiris? Were you that type
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you did a lot
Yeah.
of that. Yeah,
Furnace,
yeah.
and then I even kind of like I wasn't too much into like competitive. And when I say competitive, it was like when you're going to like GBs or like scrims. I was in a process of like trying out for some teams, just scrimming. It's like it was kind of hit or miss. Like I made
Yeah.
one team, and then from there on out, I was kind of just like just playing just Osiris just to like grind for gear, and that was like pretty much it. Because like most of my IRL friends were on there, and pretty much that's about it.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because the Destiny esport type thing never really took off or anything. So there was a lot of people who were really good at it, and it didn't go anywhere. And I remember I had the same exact problem where, you know, for me Destiny 1 was like it was almost like a family event. My daughter, my wife, we all
Mm-hmm.
played it. We all did raids together, and like you said, by the time Rise and Iron came out, I was just kind of done with the game. Like I was like, it's not good anymore.
Yeah.
Like the meta changed in PvP. Like it was kind of like weighing down on me. And then I saw Overwatch, and I think it was the same thing for me. So, but let's talk a little bit about like specifics on Overwatch. So, obviously you were talking about how your usual support is your usual role is support, and how you did a lot of that early on. You started as a Lucio main, which, by the way, from everybody that I interviewed, I gotta say it's like 90% of people started out as Lucio mains, which is actually cool to see. But because I'm imagining it's a cool character to just like look and be like, oh, he looks like a cool character. So. What's your favorite character in the game? Because I know you I know you play Mercy and you've played a lot, but who's your favorite character to play? And I know now you flex, so what's your favorite role now?
Get hype.
I'd say, I'm still sticking to support since like the amount of hours I put into it, and kind of just like in these past few seasons, and like I'd say like PC even taught me more how to flex, because it was like around season 6 when I made the switch to PC, just kind of making a name for myself on there and like making an open division. Like I had to put hundreds upon hundreds of hours in support, like in open division, and I was branching out to main tank and tanks right now. I'd say like my favorite heroes, I can narrow it down to 2. Like the heroes that I get the most enjoyment out of are Ana and Winston.
Okay.
Out of all the out of all the heroes that I like get normal playtime with.
That's awesome, and those are really good characters, especially now. I mean, I guess Winston not as much, but he's still a picked character. Like people still pick him, and Ana is such a good hero in the meta right now. So I could totally see that. Well, let's go to a little something like let's talk about your stream. So let's talk about the early days of your stream. What made you start streaming, and how did you eventually grow in popularity?
It was kind of about the time where I saw like a good gradual increase in like my viewership or my following. Like when I hit top 500, season 3, I was top 100. That's where I ended at. And when I was getting that high in the leaderboards, kind of like when I said, like, I didn't know anyone in this game until I started like meeting people in GM top 500. I was meeting like, at the time I was like talking to Sir James Parker, Mook, Such a Clutch. Like I was getting in lobbies with them because like the competition at its peak in console Overwatch to me personally was like season 3 and 4. It was like at its its biggest peak. So you had a lot more competition. Like solo queue 4,500 lobbies were the norm back then. And just kind of like getting noticed by like other teams. That's when I was actually on my first team. Do you know who Hello I'm Halo is?
I don't think so. No.
Well, he was from Xbox. He's now currently on NRG. It was a PC.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. I do know.
Like, I've been on at least 3 or 4 teams with that guy.
Okay.
And to me, it's like he was the best Lucio main on Xbox ever. But like I say, an exception is like DSP Stanky, like when he used to be on Xbox or like had the montage and everything. But like my first team with him kind of just taught me learning like more teamwork based, like getting a new perspective, just the amount like because there's a huge difference gap in terms of like play style with scrims and ranked.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
Just like getting to know like kind of like I said, like getting myself noticed by other players, like playing in tournaments, scrims, 12s lobbies, like compared to ranked, like you get to meet a lot of other people, and it's like if you're good at what you're doing, like you're gonna get even more noticed. And kind of like how I got my stream up, like I had a Twitch channel for a good 2.5 years, and when I was streaming more and more, getting to know all these players, that's when I was starting to get more viewership. And even like I had the same support, even more support when I was playing on PC when I had my time up there.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, I guess that's just goes to show the longevity you have with just the fact that you been there for so long, and you've been grinding it out, and you became part of the community so quickly. And then but let's talk about that thing you were talking about, scrims and ranked, because here's another thing I was thinking about as well. It was mentioned to me that you also play on PC as well. So And you've been on Xbox. You've been on teams on Xbox and PC. Am I right? So
Yes.
tell me about that. Tell me about the point of view between Xbox and PC, and what's the difference, and how what's the contrast between them?
Um, because there's comparisons and differences in between. When I say that is, I'd say the same thing out of ranked. I say the all the cons on PC, text chat, you have almost everyone in chat every game, and if they don't talk, you can obviously type what you're playing. I mean, that's the huge difference.
Okay.
And I'd say, out of personal experience, East Coast queues on PC are worse than queues on Xbox. Like
Wow.
I cannot exaggerate that, because West Coast, I am used to VPNing on West Coast on PCs, because that's where all the pros, all the
Sure,
Overwatch
sure.
League contenders players are at, and that's kind of like what most everyone else has been doing. So it's like just a huge skill gap in between. And then with PC, um, because it was like season 6 when I made the switch, and I would play like some Xbox now and then, just not as often. But it was between season 6 and 10. Like I said, I was in Open Division seasons 2 and 3, and I was on a team that made playoffs. Like when you make Open Division playoffs, that's like your bridge to contenders trials.
Yeah.
And we made season 2, we placed number 15. Season 3, we placed number 5. So if we placed number 4, we would have automatically made contenders trials.
Wow.
So it's like learning all these things. Like when I first went Open Division, like I learned so much in terms of shot calling, team engagement, like communications. Like you even had like in Open Division teams, you had managers, analysts, you had all these different like types of resources. And just looking back on that, it's like it's amazing how much things go even deeper than they look in the game. Like if you actually grind it.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is funny because once you watch your stream, you're very vocal in ranked, and you can tell, you do a lot of not necessarily. I mean, I guess you could call it shot calling. It's not necessarily shot calling, but you do suggest to a lot of people, "Hey, we can do this, we can do that. Let's do this," and you focus on a lot of stuff in the game that a lot of people probably miss. So, and I'm sure it has a lot to do with the experience that you had on PC and stuff like that. So that's really cool, and I think it's cool to see as well because obviously in Xbox there isn't that highest of a level. I think once you do hit a certain amount in top 500, I think the level of gameplay does become that higher. But that experience is invaluable. I could totally see that being something that's you know crazy good. Which brings us to the next thing. Like you are now in you're part of a team on the CGL. Tell us a little bit about that. Who's on your roster? And what do you look to be doing in your team in CGL this season?
I mean, I still play support, and our team is Sicko Mode, and I think we're considering getting a name change. Like, I'm not entirely sure yet, but our roster, it's me, Worst Shatter, Spree, Unrealistic Lamp, Raft, Lunch Table, Pass Fake. I'm trying to remember. It's pretty bad. We have at least 10 players, and kind of just like we have a large roster. Kind of like my role in that, besides support, I feel like I do most of the shot calling for the team. I do a lot of planning. I call it cooldowns. Like I've discussed with this team and then the past team when I was in the Lame Sauce tournament, kind of just establishing on the team who's going to be like what roles, because it's like it always shouldn't be one person doing everything on the team. You kind of have to separate some roles for everyone. Like everyone has to have a certain objectives to do for their team to kind of help them win. Like you can't just have one person do everything. Like in kind of like what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's huge. I think that's something too that there's a big learning curve, right? And I think that in a lot of console play, especially in Overwatch, people don't realize how big of the learning curve is. So you have a lot of people who probably don't have that invaluable experience that you got from PC and are now just kind of getting situated to, okay, well, we're in a league now, we're trying to do things. So that's good. That's a really cool thing to know. And by the way, that roster sounds really good. At least that core. I mean, I know Lunch Table's a great Lucio, Worth Shatter's an amazing Ryan, Spree's an amazing Zarya. So that's an awesome core. Just from what I hear so far, there's also a lot of great teams in that tier. What are your expectations coming into the next CGL season?
Um, Really, it kind of just depends over time. Just you'll over time we'll see even better teams by now then, because like we got a good taste of it from the lame sauce tourney, because everyone's kind of motivated in the prize pool and that, and like we like, well, when I say we, like, because I'd say most of our team from lame sauce, like we almost have the exact same roster from the lame sauce tourney, and at least we have some synergy with most of our teammates, and which kind of gives us an advantage. That's how I see it. Is like we have most of the teammates that already know what they're doing, and then we've already picked up three different people, like in exchange for others, because other teammates, they wish to play with like some better friends of theirs. I mean, that's their choice. Like I have no say in that, but which helps us in the matter. And like they're, since this is obviously a league and it's more time consuming, like it takes
Yeah.
weeks, like we're going to be seeing gradually like even more teams that we don't even know about what strats they're going to use. And kind of like I said, it's like it's console, like there might even be people in EU that I don't even know about, that or like other regions, other areas that might have their own strategies. I mean, it's, we don't know.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good way to see it too. Is that there's a lot of there's a lot of adaptability that's going to be coming into this upcoming season. So that's really cool. Well, let's go a little bit back to some of the streaming stuff. So I noticed that anybody who's seen your stream has noticed the dedicated gaming logo on your stream. I think sometimes when you see stuff like that on people's streams, it kind of legitimizes it, and you can see, oh, this person has put in time. It looks like they have some sort of sponsorship and stuff like that. So tell us how you came about that, and what is that dedicated gaming?
They approached me first, kind of just offering me the organization, because like I didn't accept it right off the bat. I kind of just did my own research with them. Like they're a Las Vegas, a streaming organization. I talked to the leader, kind of just demanded a little more information about it. I looked into it, and they've got some support from other organizations of their own, and they have like pretty good connections. I was the very first Overwatch streamer for their organization, and I was an Xbox player. And literally, I say like a week after I joined, they picked up a top 10 PS4 Overwatch player on there. His name's Enjoyable. I was looking at his streams, and like he seems like a pretty like decent person or a decent player. And then they added a PC Overwatch player, and he's pretty known. Like I met up with him and talked to him before. His name is Bowie, and I'm not sure if you've ever watched Aspen. Like if you do, you know who
Sure.
Aspen is in the PC?
Yeah, absolutely. Cloud
Yeah,
Nine
like
streamer,
he
right?
duos with them a lot. Like
Okay.
I think like they're the most known duo, and like so it's pretty much like it's like a triangle. Like we have PS4, Xbox, PC, and kind of like that's how they really want to play it off as for right now. And it's like I've met with these GFX artists, part of the organization. They're really nice people. Like overall, really nice staff.
Wow, that's great, and I think that that type of thing gives you a lot of clout too in the stream and just in general. I think that's always really good to thrive for that type of stuff. So, um, let's talk about what would be one of the suggestions you would give to people who are starting to stream and wanted to do consoles and stuff like that. Because I think there's a big gap between starting and getting like a little bit of viewership and stuff like that. What are your suggestions for up and coming streamers, especially for console ones?
Um, Well, I'd say the difference first in between console and PC streamers or PC Overwatch streamers is like PC audience is obviously way bigger than console. So of course you're gonna have a lot more notoriety on there compared to console. But what would give console players an edge, at least in terms of getting viewership, because like the most known console streamers, at least to my knowledge, are that stream on a regular basis as of now is Octotroph, Blood Dust, Loud Much, streamers like those, and there are even more, which is actually nice to see.
Sure.
In my opinion, just seeing more console streamers. I'd say just kind of production wise, you want to improve a little bit, which does obviously require some money. Just investments. That's probably the best term. It's just like better investments in your setup, either with audio, Streamlabs, even in Elgato, because they did update the Twitch app, which that's a good start when you think about it. Even before that, it's just kind of just getting noticed on the leaderboards. Like leaderboards is kind of iffy for me, at least, is because just my personal opinion is like ranked is just a number.
Yeah.
Like anyone can really reach that rank, and it just mainly you just have to show people how you actually play if you actually are a top 500 player yourself, and kind of just like even just enjoyment, just if you're an outgoing person, because like on my streams it's like I kind of like view myself as like a boring person. I'm kind of just stern. Like I like playing with my friends, just either in Overwatch and then obviously in Apex Legends recently, but like I kind of feel like I'm different a little bit, just like either off camera or on camera. It's like off camera, like I'll just be very crude, like I'll just say whatever I want, like I'll talk so much shit, but on stream I'll kind of do it. And especially like whenever I see like even more viewers in the stream, that's when I'm kind of like, oh wow, like people are actually watching Mercy Main and play Overwatch. That's kind of like what I thought at first. Just try to at least entertain some people. Like I've at least learned, like just don't be boring. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is, right? It's all about entertainment. So, but as somebody who's not only watched your stream but also participated in it, I can tell you that like one of the things that I think is great is that like you have this sort of kind of like seagull approach to it, where you're not necessarily like a hyped person, but what you do and say on stream, it is very entertaining. Like even sometimes as I go personally into the chat, sometimes I'll just say things that I feel would be like funny just to tell you because I want to hear your reaction. And I think a lot of people do kind of the same type of thing, because you seem to just be like, all right, okay. And it's a very cool, it's a very funny type of reaction. I actually, I have a clip here. We're going to show it now. It's part of this, the new game that we started playing. Me and you played it for the first time. I think the day it came out, I think we played a little bit of it. And it's a funny clip. I'm gonna show it right now, and we'll talk about it when we come back. Here we go.
Reloading.
I got something or whatever.
Reloading.
Oh, that's not what I want. What?
Oh my God.
Wait a minute.
You downed yourself.
Wait a minute. So I don't get this. It said activate your shield ultimate. So I was like, okay, shield ultimate. What the?
Oh my! You downed yourself and like you almost downed me. I was shield down, missile strike on. Up and
I'm still getting used to this.
Yeah.
You like dead.
That.
The graphics are.
All right, so here's the thing too. Like let's talk about that real quick, because I think it was a very funny clip, and I think what made it really funny was obviously that the fact that I totally messed up there, but also your reaction was priceless, because you're just like, I'm over here just like, and then you said your shield is going down. So I feel like those moments and stuff like that happen a lot in your stream, and not just with me, but definitely with other people. I think that like I've seen a lot of your Overwatch plays as well, and the one of the best things I like to see is when people are saying things that are just incorrect maybe in ranked, and you try to correct them, and they're just like, no, you're wrong. And it's probably one of the funniest things to see, because you don't really get mad a lot. You just kind of brush it off.
Oh, I mean,
I mean, you probably get mad internally, right? But
Oh,
like
yeah,
on
like-
stream, it just looks more like you're just kind of like, you know, people are gonna be dumb. Like, so I think it's hugely entertaining, and I think it's definitely something that as a streamer people should be thriving for. So people like you, and like you mentioned, Loud Munch and Bloodlust and stuff like that. So those type of people with those types of streams, you know, definitely should be more of. And absolutely, I think those are like just great things to do and great things to strive for. I'm gonna talk to you real quick about I'm gonna ask you really quick about the meta, because I want to see your take on it. You've been in Overwatch for a long time, obviously from almost the very beginning. So talk to me about the support meta right now, which you mentioned before, how you can play any hero now. And as somebody who is very good at Mercy, and probably played a lot during the Mercy meta, I'm assuming,
yeah.
you also have a lot of insight into a lot of different type of, what support worked in what meta and stuff like that. Where do you think the meta is for supports right now? And what do you think is the best combo for supports in the game right now?
My personal opinion, honestly, is Ana Lucio, but then you also have to keep in mind, when you say meta, it's like PC meta and console meta.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, when people hear, it's like there is a console meta, because PC, you'll see people play totally different heroes that you barely even see people play on console. Because I'd say like the weakest, like the main reason I play Mercy is because, like, this is just me, is little to no one plays Widowmaker on console. So you have a huge advantage of just freely flying. You'll run like into hit scans like Asher McCree, but there are like a lot more players that play that. But like what mainly keeps Mercy back, just in general, is like she's in a weird spot right now. She can be used like in quad DPS, as you've seen, like either on console and PC.
Sure.
She's just situational, and as long as her base healing's at 50 compared to 60, she's like gonna be in a rough spot, is because like her base healing's not as good as it used to be, but her Valk can still get a lot of value. But the reason I say Ana Lucio is the best support for both console and PC is just the amount of burst healing she gets out of her team. And especially with Lucio, like Lucio, I'd say is like the key foundation to this meta, is just mainly is his speed, because no other character in this game has speed. And with the amount of, because like I even had a debate on my stream, like between which ult was stronger, was Transcendence and Beat Drop. And the reason I went with Beat Drop is because it's usually for engagements, and even like for defense. Like when people really look at Trans, I say like it can only save you from like a good few ults, like it depending on the situation. Because it's like with Beat Drop, you gain like 800 shields and can either disengage or speed with. And with Ana, her burst healing from her nade, especially, because it's like, I'm trying to find like the best terminology, especially, is because it's like it really just depends. Like there are a lot more comps, because I mean goats to this day is still like, it is meta, but in given time we'll really see like if it shifts out of goats meta or not, because it really varies on what other patches or buffs are going to be made in the game. Because like obviously with this Reaper buff that came out, people are like immediately thinking, oh, Reaper's meta. Like he's not meta. Like that's just me. Like he's not meta. He is strong, but he is not meta. Like, and people really need to get that through their skulls. Like goats is still going to be like, goats is still going to be used, but now people, like I've seen, like I was watching some contenders matches, like now I've like seeing like some double main tank comps, like with either Reinhardt Winston or Reinhardt Orisa. It mainly depends on the maps though. Like it really varies, because you also have to keep in mind, like whatever comp you're running, it always depends on the map. It really boils down to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's completely true. I mean, I hate hearing all, and I'll probably hear it from a lot of lower tier people, but I do hear a lot of, Reaper is the anti-goats, and he got the buff. That's
Nope.
it, and it's not necessarily the case. Obviously, a good Reaper in the good, a good Reaper player can make some good plays and can swing a fight or something like that. But I don't think that it is the end all be all of goats or anything
Because
like that.
like what mainly holds him back, it's like, I mean, obviously his damage is good, but it's mainly his utility. I'd say Wraith. I mean, Wraith can be useful, but I'd say what holds him back is his teleport. The teleport ability for him is useless, and his ult, like everyone really expects, as long as Diva is in the game, and especially like it really depends on the comp too, because it's like as long as Diva Matrix is still in the game, I mean, Reaper's not going to be as good as he's just not going to be like very useful against goats, because I mean, you have Zarya and Diva, mainly Diva, because like even with the cooldown to her Matrix, I mean, she's still going to absorb a lot of damage for the team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a great analysis of the meta, and for sure. Well, listen, Scary, I greatly appreciate you coming on the show. I think what you're doing so far and with your streams is really cool. I am very looking forward to watching your team in CGL. I think that'll be a great team to watch for sure. Let everybody know, plug in your Twitch, plug in your Twitter if anybody doesn't know yet. I know there's a few Dragon fans out there in the chat. They're spamming the Dragons over there. So there's definitely some people out there. So yeah, for sure. There's some Dragons fans out there. So plug in your stuff for the people who don't know yet.
Yeah, so my Twitch channel is scary_dragons OW. My Twitter is scary_dragons. Like, I'm mainly active on Twitter. If you ever want to follow me on Twitch, like, I mean, you'll either see me on Twitter talking some smack or just memeing around. I mean, that's just me. But overall, that's where I'm active.
Nice. By the way, Dig with a big or a blig is in chat, and he says to give him a shout out there.
Oh, did he? Oh, Dig with the blig. I don't know about that guy. He usually cheats my games.
All right. Well, listen, I have one final question before we go. So, who is the number one lifeline, and why is it me?
I mean, is that even a question? It's me, obviously.
What? All right. I'll let that pass. I'll let that pass for now. That was we had a little bit of technical difficulties there. We have some disagreements, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so Scary Dragons, thank you so much for being on the show. Listen, everybody out there, I'm glad you were here to watch the show. Thank you so much, everybody who was here. Lame Sauce, thank you for all the gifted subs that you were giving out. You're an outstanding member of the community. Yeah, huge shout outs to Lame Sauce.
Lame is the man. He's a fucking great guy.
For sure. Thank you so much, Lame Sauce. Remember, this podcast is about the Overwatch, Xbox, and PS4 community. So if you want to get on the show, hit me up. My Twitter is twitter.com/dazzle167. You can catch me here on Twitch.
Can I just shout out some smaller streamers? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So, kind of like smaller streamers that are starting to get noticed out there. Just shout outs to the streamers I've been hosting right now. Like, it's a Chris, Extreme Waffle. Honestly, just like any smaller streamers that are out there, I mean, definitely hit me up like while I'm streaming or after I'm streaming, because like what I'm starting to do now is just host, like, especially when I'm on Overwatch, that's where I get my most viewership, is just host like smaller streamers out there just to help them out. That's really what my goal is, because it's like, unless no one's on, it mainly depends. I mean, it's like I definitely want to help some other streamers out there that want to at least get noticed or put some effort into it.
Absolutely. And that's actually a great segue because on Twitter, I mentioned before how I wanted to start rating some people at the end of the show. That's going to be this time. So I'm going to go ahead and pick somebody from my line. And I believe it's actually somebody that you mentioned. It's a Chris. We're going to pick her for the raid. So I'm going to raid her here in a second. So once I do, let her know that we are coming through from Off the Wall, and say hi and make sure you follow if you haven't followed yet. And yeah, say hi to her on my part. I'll see you guys later. This has been Off the Wall.
Peace.
Peace. All right, so we're gonna do the raid here shortly. So we have a few viewers getting ready for the raid. Now, when we do it, make sure you say hi in the chat. All right. So we're gonna do it here in a little bit, and here we go.